I'm Laura Jaros, and I'm with a company called Unicity Healthcare, and we are a private home care and also care management company. What we do is we try to match um, home health aides with our clients who may need assistance with activities of daily living in their homes. We also help people that may have moved into facilities such as assisted living. And we also have care management, which are a team of licensed nurses and social workers that can really help families and our seniors navigate the aging process by doing an assessment of what those needs might be. Often those clients have maybe chronic illness, or they may not have family nearby that can assist with coordinating medical management, transportation to and from appointments, sometimes financial needs. We assist with managing those kind of things. So we almost become like the advocate and kind of the family member for rent, for lack of a better term. But so those are some of the things that we do, and we have a great team of experienced nurses and social workers that can really help really with anything, and make referrals to other professionals that may be helpful. So we are here today. I have one of our nurses here today. Her name is Kim. And Kim is our field nurse supervisor. So she is really on the front lines, and she is seeing all of our clients and families that are at home and in the facilities, and making sure that we are providing the right level of care that they may need. So we are here today to do a presentation. We've actually nicknamed this presentation to something that we like to call Poop Matters. And the formal name for this presentation is Nutrition and Constipation. And we have, we've really gotten a lot of good feedback on this, and it's something that's relevant to all of us, really, no matter what your age is. I've got young children, and let me tell you, I've never paid more attention to poop as I do with my young kids. So it's relevant in all, no matter where we are in life. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Kim has a lot of clinical background, so she's a great resource for any questions that you may have. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and I will be kind of the MC managing the screen. So Kim, if you want to just give me a cue and you're ready to get going.
Yeah, so I'm Kim, as Laura said, and I'm the field nurse. So I'm the one who goes out and normally does, the initial assessments to see what the needs are. And then I kind of regroup with the office and see what aids we have available to try to get the right fit. So we can jump into the poop if you'd like to. Just go to the next.
Dive right in.
All right, so I'm sure everyone knows what constipation is or has been constipated at some point. But basically what happens with constipation is when your the stool isn't moving through your bowel quick enough. If it's too slow, the body reabsorbs the fluid that's in it, which makes the stool hard, and it's difficult for it to move through the bowel so that you can pass it. And that's, when you kind of get backed up and you have a hard time, getting rid of what's in there. So
we've got some great pictures.
Yeah. Go ahead, Laura.
All right. So
obviously there's different kinds. What king of poop do you have? And I think that's supposed to say what kind of poop do you have, because I'm not sure what the king is, but just notice that right now. But there's different types, based on what your stool looks like is, how you can determine whether it's, full constipation, severe constipation. So type 1 is when there's just like lumps coming out. it's hard to pass, and then it's just like pellets or lumps, then, normally that's a severe constipation. Mild, it says in the shape of a sausage. That's normally what a formed stool looks like. So I don't know, if you really examine, maybe it's a little more lumpy than a regular stool. If you're okay, so the type 3 says it's shaped but with cracks on the surface, so it's not as hard or defined, I guess you can say. There's imperfections, if so to speak. Just like type 4, it's smooth and it's still in a formed sausage type form. When you have type 5, it's separate soft blobs, but they're kind of well defined. So you can still see that it's, a formed stool of sorts. But when you have that, when it's separated, it doesn't come out in like one, formed piece. Normally you're lacking fiber, because that's what keeps the poop together, is the fiber. Type 6 is mild diarrhea, so that's mushy, but it's not like straight water. And then type 7 is no solid pieces at all. It's just like you're, flushing water out of your body.
Who's hungry?
Yeah. Did we all eat breakfast?
All right.
Alrighty. So what causes it? A lot of times with constipation, it has to do with your nutrition. Poor nutrition. When you're low in fiber, you're eating high fat foods, especially when you don't drink a lot of water. Water is very important. Fluids, mostly, water is great. Your body is made up of like 98% water. So in order to move stuff through the intestines and all, water becomes very critical. If you're eating high fat foods in low fiber, fiber is good for the body because the body doesn't necessarily break that down. So it helps to form the stool, and pass it through the bowel. If you're not sleeping enough, if you're very stressed, that causes constipation. Age sometimes has a lot to do with it, because you're not, as we age, we're not as active all the time as we were when we were younger. And when our bodies aren't up and moving around, and we become sedentary and just, resting or laying around and not getting up and going out, that causes constipation as well, because when you're not moving around, the stuff in your body doesn't move around. It kind of just sits, like there's no force to push things through. So exercise is important. Medications. Sometimes medications that you're on do cause constipation. A lot of, narcotic, pain meds and stuff, but even other prescription medications, side effects can be constipation. So you want to make sure when you take your medications, you're drinking enough fluids, to help break down those medications. And again, like I said, the fluids are very important. It says here, laxative abuse. So laxatives are okay if you're having, a really, really hard time going. But if you take too many of them, your body becomes almost dependent on them. So it's not healthy to take those all the time. And when I say laxatives, I mean like like an X-Lax or something like that. There are things that you can take as a supplement, which will kind of help with constipation, such as like a Miralax or like a Benefiber, those things that you mix in water that you can drink in the morning or at night. And then there's also stool softeners that you can take, like a Colace or Senna. Those help with keeping the stool soft so that it doesn't. What happens when the stool gets hard, it's generally the lowest part of the stool, like as it's coming out, like towards your, like through the colon, like towards your rectum, that's the part that gets hard. And that's the hardest part to push out. So if you stay hydrated, everything behind that kind of, you know, stays mushy and can force it through. But when you're not getting enough fluids and, you know, you're not eating the right foods, when it starts hardening further up, that's when, you know, you can have real issues and become impacted and stuff like that. So go ahead, Laura. So just some tips, you know, simple changes can improve the diet and help relieve constipation. It's important to eat 3 meals a day. Try not to skip meals. If you're not like into eating big meals, then snacks, you know, smaller things throughout the day, but try to eat at least 3 meals a day. They say breakfast should be your biggest, and then as you go through the day, dinner should be the smaller, because when you eat dinner, if you eat too late and then you go to bed, the food kind of just sits and it doesn't really digest as well. So it's better to eat your big meal in the morning, because then you're up, you're out for the day, you're energized, you're moving around. So it keeps things kind of going in the body and flushing through. It says here to read the food labels and look for dietary fiber content. So it's good sources have 2 grams of fiber or more. There's, I think in another slide, which we'll see, there's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber, and it'll explain what kinds they are. But veggies are very good. Fruits and vegetables. You should try to have 2 cups of fruit to 2.5 cups of, and 2.5 cups of vegetables a day. So if you're having a sandwich, you know, instead of having the fries on the side, have a salad with it, or put veggies on your sandwich to make that little crunchy. I know I like the crunch in a sandwich when I have like a, you know, a turkey sandwich. I like having that little crunch on top. So add like cucumbers or something to the sandwich, because then you're getting more vegetables and it's not, you know, strictly the bread. And have snacks during the day, you know, the bags of the mini carrots or cut up celery, just something to munch on, because the fruits and vegetables are good to help with digestion. When you have breads and stuff, go for the grains. Try not to have like the white bread, the white rice, regular pasta. Try to switch to the whole grains and brown rice. More whole oats, multigrain cereals. Instead of having, you know, just your regular saltine crackers, try the whole wheat saltine crackers. You know, just try to supplement, because the white stuff is it's starch, and that's gonna add to the constipation problems if you already have them. So it's better to try to go with the whole grains. Because those are, again, we'll go with the fibers that are soluble and insoluble, and I think it might be the next slide. It'll explain a little bit better how the body breaks those down and what it does. Bulk up on beans, replace meat with bean like twice a week instead of having the red meats. You can add beans to salads. Those are very good too, because they add bulk to the stool. When the bulk is there, it's easier for the stool to move through the intestine. It says to add fiber gradually over the course of a week. You don't want to do it too quickly, because then you feel bloated and then you get all gassy, and that doesn't feel good either. So you're either constipated or you're really gassy. It's one or the other. I don't know. But if you slowly add fiber, your body gets used to it. So, you know, if you are trying to change your diet and you are adding fiber, if you start to feel like bloated or gassy, just cut back a little bit until you feel okay, and then slowly add a little bit more. And here you can add a fiber supplement. And bulk forming laxatives, they're generally safe. Obviously, if you're going to take anything over the counter, just be sure that you confer with your doctor first, just to make sure that anything that you're going to take isn't going to interfere with any of prescription medications that you may be on. Excuse me. Even if it seems like it's just a vitamin or a fiber, there's sometimes hidden things in those that could have, a negative reaction with some of the medications that you might be taking, especially if you're taking like blood pressure medications and those, cardiac issues. You want to be very careful. It says here, stay hydrated. If you add more fiber with food or supplements, make sure you drink more fluids as well. It says to try to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. I know I'm really not a big water drinker. So I try adding stuff to the water just to add a little bit of flavor. But as I said in the very beginning, water is very, very important. Your body is made up of so much of it. And when we don't take the fluids in, we end up maybe dehydrating ourselves, or we don't realize it. But once the water is out, if you're not replenishing it, different things can happen aside from constipation. Go ahead, Laura. Okay, can eating more fiber help? Absolutely. Fiber is part of the plant food that doesn't break down. When we eat foods that have a lot of it, the extra bulk helps keep the stool, it keeps it soft, and it helps to speed the digestion. So here's, like I was talking before, there's soluble and insoluble. So soluble fiber is the one that gives the stool the bulk. Foods that are good sources of soluble fiber include apples, bananas, barley, oats, and beans. So those are going to help, build up your stool so that it's not, too mushy where it's coming out as water, or, where it's more formed so that it comes out easy. The insoluble fibers help speed it up. It helps push that through and helps the digestive tract, push the stool through so that it doesn't harden. It's when it hardens is when it's a hard time to come out. Good sources of insoluble fiber are whole grains, most vegetables, wheat bran, and legumes. Foods that have fiber contain both soluble and insoluble. They recommend that after the age of 50, we need less fiber, about 25 grams for women and 30 grams for men. But unfortunately, even though you think you're eating a lot, you're probably only getting close to 15 grams a day. So even though we need less, we're still not getting enough. So it's important to pay attention to those, especially if you're having problems with constipation. And examples of high fiber foods with the fruits: the apple with the peel, bananas, blueberries, pears with the skin. The peel on the apple and the skin on the pear, those, have the fiber in them as well. Prunes are good, oranges, raisins, and strawberries. And it gives here approximate, like, how many grams of fiber you're getting with like one medium apple, and the peel you're getting about 4 grams. So, if you eat enough mixture of fruits and vegetables, it's not that hard to come up with the amount of fiber that we should be eating daily. And then here's high fiber fruit foods as far as cereal. Again, we're saying the whole grains. So whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta. Beans are very good. Nuts, depending on the nut, I don't know off the top of my head, but like an almond may have more than a cashew. So, depending on what type of nuts you like. Brussels sprouts, I'm not a big fan on, but if you roast them with, some garlic and oil, and they're not so bad. But a lot of these are, corn's my favorite. I love corn. So, if there's a favorite vegetable that you have, try adding more of that and see, if that's helping, if, you are having issues with constipation. And there's the green peas and potatoes down at the bottom, it said too. It's kind of blended in there. Foods to avoid: limit highly refined and processed foods. So a lot of your stuff in the supermarkets, like the white breads, and they're good to an extent, but you want to keep an eye out on the processed foods, because there's so many other things added in that even if you think, well, it's it says it's wheat bread, but if it's it's processed a certain way and they're cutting out a lot of the grain, and it's more refined stuff, then you're really not getting the true fiber that you would if it was an actual, like a whole grain bread that was different than the processed or the refined. It has like chocolates and stuff here. I think chocolate's good, but in everything in moderation is okay. But if you find that constipation is becoming a problem, just kind of keep a log of what you ate for the last couple of days, just so you can keep track. Okay, well, I had white rice with white bread, and then as the week went on, you kind of got a little bit more constipated. We'll go back and say, okay, well, maybe if I change this. And it can be done in moderation. It doesn't have to, you don't have to change your diet like completely overnight. Take some things out and substitute with, with a whole grain bread. Eat more, instead of having, I don't know, like the processed foods try to eat fresh or fresh vegetables. Go to the farmer's market and get the fresh fruits, opposed to those sometimes in the supermarket, because they have the chemicals. And so it's really paying attention to your diet is a huge key for constipation. And exercising, and even just walking every day. Go out and walk a little bit. Every little bit helps, and you'll see if you kind of put all these things together, it makes a big difference. I don't know if there's something else after this, Laura.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yep. So other suggestions: exercise and sleep. Sleep is really important. Little cat naps are okay, but getting a good night's sleep, I find for me is key. The exercise, it not only helps keep you fit, but it may help you stay regular. I was drinking a lot of like caffeine, soda, like just not the right stuff, because I'm in the car a lot. So I'm grabbing a drink here and pulling into a drive-through here, and I wasn't feeling good at all. So I started drinking, like protein shakes, and I cut out the soda with the caffeine. I would drink all day long. Now I have one a day. And I was doing it to lose weight, to get regular with constipation, all that kind of stuff. But I feel so less bloated now by cutting out a lot of that stuff. It's amazing, what a change in diet and activity and all that can do. If you exercise regularly, you can use weights, if just walking 3 times a week. If you want to add, just a little hand weight while you're walking, if you want to spice it up a little bit, but every little bit helps. Try to limit the stress. Stress is everywhere. But that kind of adds to it too. Even though it's, your mind and the brain does a lot to the rest of the body that you don't realize, when you're putting stressors on, one thing, something else is always affected. It's not just the one issue that you have. It snowballs until sometimes it's out of control. So if you exercise, you get a good night's sleep, you can't eliminate stress completely, but try to stay as positive and relax. It does help a lot. When to call the doctor. Most of the time, if you're making changes to your diet and exercise, that should help. But if you've tried things for a couple of weeks and you still, you know, not noticing any change and you're still having an issue, having a hard time going to the bathroom, give the doctor a call, because they may suggest something like a laxative just for a few days to help get you back in track. But, you know, always consult with the doctor before you do any of those things. And it says here too that if you should call the doctor right away if you're ever noticing any kind of blood in your stool, if you have any kind of belly pain, you know, if your stomach becomes like distended and hard, you know, if you are having a problem with constipation, you could be impacted. So pay close attention to those things as well. As you change your diet, like I mentioned before, if you start to feel bloated, then cut back a little bit. But always, you know, it can't hurt to just give the doctor a call if you have a question on anything, or reach out to your friendly neighborhood nurse and ask questions, because, you know, you don't want to go too long where it becomes a, you know, a big problem where then, you know, you're in the hospital and they have to take out the impaction and all that. So, you know, stay on top of it. And I think that's the end.
So we can definitely open up for questions.
Anybody has questions or anything?
I do.
Okay.
Meredith down here in Monmouth.
Hi, Meredith.
Hi. It's not really a question. It's actually, I'll see what you think of this, Kim, but I have diverticulitis.
Okay.
And I ended up in the ER in an emergency situation about 1.5 years ago because I had a microperforation in one of the, you know, whatever you call those pockets.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it was, they were going to treat me with antibiotics or do surgery kind of a thing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to treat me with some deep IV antibiotics because I'm not having surgery.
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway, so now I see a gastro and I'm totally fine, but that's exactly what happened, what we're talking about here. And what I do is eat a huge bowl of Fiber One cereal every morning, in addition to the fruits and vegetables and all that stuff. And it really, really helps. I love that stuff. I mean, I know not everybody can tolerate it because it does taste like cardboard. But
if you add like fresh fruit to it, or, you know, like almond milk instead of regular milk.
I analyzed all the foods out there. It has the most fiber you can possibly get in one dose, in other words.
Yeah. I mean, a big bowl of that, you've probably conquered like half of your fiber for the day, aside from eating, you know, the other stuff that you should be eating.
Right. So it's just a suggestion, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, a change in diet, the slightest little change can make the hugest impact.
Yeah.
You know, changing one thing. Like me, like I said, I cut out the diet soda and the caffeine, and I don't have the bloating and the, you know, hard stomach feeling. And so it's, you know, a little change can go a long way.
And then the other thing they told me is, at least my gastro told me, is she doesn't want, I don't eat red meat anymore.
Right.
Because they do really believe that it hangs around in the gut too long, like for a very long time.
It does.
I mean, I eat chicken and fish, but I'm not a vegetarian, but I just stay away from red meat at all times now because it just hangs in your gut too long, I think. And
it does. And I mean, you know, some people, I need my meat. So only have it like once a week opposed to 4 times a week. You know, cut back. Everything is good in moderation, and you just have to see, you know, how your body, you know, if you are having digestive issues and you do eat a lot of red meat, cut back and see if it makes any difference.
Yeah.
You know, if it is making a difference, then maybe you just need to eat less of that.
Yeah, it's you know, it's genetic. My mother had it, my sister has it.
Right.
But it's something we have to pay attention to, and it's all about exactly what you just did. I can never get constipated ever because I'm so afraid it would happen again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What do you think of Metamucil?
Those kinds of things are helpful. The Metamucil, they have beta fiber, Miralax. you just don't want to take too much of it, because sometimes you can end up on the other end and have a lot of loose stool. So, if you're having trouble, maybe if you're going to do the, which one did you say? I'm sorry.
Metamucil.
Metamucil, right. Only maybe do it every other day, just to introduce it and see if it assists. You don't want to bang out and just automatically take so much of it, because it could have the opposite effect.
I take a teaspoon every day.
And it helps
Yes.
keep you regular.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the Metamucil, the Benefibers, you're getting the fiber through that, opposed to eating a big bowl of Fiber One.
Right. But I do eat
that's
cereal.
your supplement that keeps you regular.
I do eat cereal. I do eat fruit and vegetables.
Okay. And that's all healthy, and that's good. If you find that you're doing the Metamucil and you start to have loose stool, maybe don't take it one day and try to get back, in a regular,
Okay.
in a regular pattern. But
Okay.
yeah, but those things are good to help us along.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
This is Marie Claire. I'm on the phone. I have a question. Can you tell me, how often are you supposed to have a bowel movement? What's recommended? Is it every day? What's considered, good?
Every person is different. For me personally, I don't go every day. Like every 2 to 3 days for me is normal for me. I find as I change my diet now, I am going more regular, but for most of my life, I was like every 2 days. So as long as when, let's say you go every other day, you don't go every day. As long as your stools are formed, they're not hard, you're not straining to go to the bathroom, then that could be your normal. Depending on the diet that you have, your body's chemistry. Your body just may function that it doesn't need to, excrete everything every day. Some people are regular. They drink coffee and at 10 a.m. they go every day. Like it's the body's, your body's chemistry and the way that it takes care of, removing what needs to be removed. But as long as you're not straining when you go and you're not having a hard time going, if you go every other day and it's, it feels okay, then that's normal for you. There's really I'd say if you don't go, you go like twice a week, then there might be an issue, but it doesn't necessarily have to be every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Kim. My name is Jackie.
Hi.
I have a question about the color of your stool.
Okay.
I'm sure it probably changes based on what you're taking, what you're eating. However, since the shutdown, I've been having a little bit of a problem with a medication. I was on a Nexium.
Okay.
GERD, and my insurance company decided not to pay for it anymore. So through trial and error and many calls with my doctor, I'm now on Prilosec, and I've noticed that the stools have changed color. They're more in the tan family now.
Okay.
Could that be from that medication?
It can definitely be from the medication. If your stools are changing color, a lot of it has to do with, the diet, what you're eating. You just want to pay close attention if they become really dark. Light in color really isn't, too much of an issue. But if they become like really, really dark, almost black in color, that could be a sign that there may be blood in the stool. So you want to pay close attention when it goes the other way, but definitely the medication, can, if you take iron, your stool does become dark from the iron. So if you do have a dark stool and you know you're on iron, then chances are you're fine. But if you're not taking anything like that and you do have like a dark colored stool, pay close attention just to make sure that, if it's 1 or 2 days, that's okay. But if it's a consistent thing and it's really dark, then you want to call the doctor.
But light is okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I've even had green based on what I ate, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking it must be the change in the medication because.
Yeah, different manufacturers, they have like the same main ingredients in their, their medications, the way that they, obviously the key part of the medication, but there could be something in there that the other medication didn't have that's, that's changing the color. But if it goes the other direction, then you should reach out to the doctor. But light is, isn't an issue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What's your opinion about taking pre or probiotics?
I think they're good. I take them personally just to kind of keep my gut. I mean, you have good flora in your gut and you have bad flora in your gut. And when that gets off balance, you tend to get bloated, you can have belly pain. And so the pre and probiotics kind of keep that flora in check. So I think they're helpful. I haven't, heard, horrible things that they're doing damage. I think they're good to keep everything in check.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Kim,
Yes.
do you have any advice for somebody who's on the other end of the spectrum and has more of a tendency to irritable bowel syndrome?
So do you eat foods to try to bind, or does that help at all, or you go back and forth?
I guess I can go back and forth, but I actually, when I had a really serious case of it several years ago, the doctor actually told me to take Metamucil, but make it concentrated.
Right. Yeah,
And that it
I mean, irritable bowel is hard, because you go from one extreme to another sometimes. And it's hard sometimes to find, the balance of what'll work. When I was having issues, I cut out a lot of the dairy. And I found that kind of helped along the, the real loose end of things. I found the more like dairy or ice cream, or even if I was eating like chocolate and stuff, I found it went right through me. So maybe if you're having a bout with it, keep a log of what you've been eating, because you may not realize, but maybe you change something, that's kind of adding to the irritable bowel. That's kind of like a dual-edged sword, because you take stuff and then you become constipated, and then you try to take something for the constipation, but then you're back with the loose stool. So it kind of goes back and forth. But I think diet can be key to that situation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I'm on the food chain. I don't know.
Just a quick question. So I don't know if there are no more questions. Michelle, I don't know if you have anything else.
I hope the information was
here.
informative for everyone.
It was great.
Yes.
Thank you. And I just want to tell everybody that Unicity will be presenting their new support group. So next Tuesday at 3:00, if you just want to talk about what this experience has been like for you, the things that you are having trouble with, maybe, loneliness or depression, or all the silver linings that have come out of this. You could share your good stories, whatever. We're inviting people to a support group, a very non-judgmental support group. And I think it's, Laura, is it Rita? Is Rita going to?
It will be Rita, or it will be a social worker.
Okay.
So we will have a social worker. It will be a safe environment for everyone to attend. And, I think it will be a nice place to talk about any concerns, any worries. We love to hear good things. We love to hear challenges. So all of it, it's really just going to be an open, safe place to talk about things that everybody's been going through.
Great. Well, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we love your group, and we really hope to get back in person at some point sooner than later, but we'll take this for now.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Kim.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.